I am now pleased to introduce Atif Ghauri. Atif is the SVP and Chief Technology Officer at the Herjavec Group. The Herjavec Group, as mentioned on the hit television show Shark Tank, is one of the world's preeminent cybersecurity firms, led by current Shark and Atif's boss, Robert Herjavec. At the Herjavec Group, Atif is responsible to develop new business, elevate existing relationships, and incubate new partners channels globally. Prior to joining the Herjavec Group, Atif had a very successful career, including the invention and deployment of a fraud detection technology to over 1 million devices. Today, Atif will share his own insights on overcoming the feelings of fear and uncertainty. Atif speaks regularly to diverse groups at the Pennsylvania Free Enterprise Week on a wide range of professional development topics. Today, Atif will discuss how to achieve the resilience mindset and how to master the peak state. Currently, Atif lives in Bucks County, Pennsylvania, with his wife, a former BMS supply chain senior manager, and their 4 kids. We are thrilled Atif is here and welcome you all once again to Resilience in the Times of Uncertainty.
Thank you. Thank you very much. What a great introduction. Thank you for having me here today. I have to tell you that this topic is a little personal, and I really appreciate it. It's really a privilege to be able to talk to you about your feelings, about how you feel about a situation. Before we do that, so who watches Shark Tank? Yeah, fans. All right. Yeah, so I work for the guy from Shark Tank, and no, not this guy, but actually this guy, Robert Herjavec. Yeah, it's a fun story of how I met him. Maybe if we have time at the end, I'll go through that. But it's been a great run at Shark Tank, and with Shark Tank, I mean, some of the fun facts I get asked all the time as far as, hey, you work with Robert, what's he like? Is he like the way he is on TV? Absolutely. The guy is a class act. What you see on TV is the way he is. Just a quick story about Robert to tell you how he is as a person. So he almost got kicked off of Shark Tank because he was too nice. And to give you some example of which, so when he first started on Shark Tank years ago, the producers have a tagline, which many of you know who watch it, is "I'm out," right? And you got to do it in kind of an aggressive way because it's an American show, and I'm out, right? And so Robert's not American. He's actually Croatian born, and then he lived his life in Canada. And Canadians, and there's probably Canadians on TV and maybe some Canadians in the room, Canadians are a lot nicer than Americans, especially the East Coast Americans like me that are a lot more aggressive, a lot more push. Canadians are not. So Robert goes on the show, and they do their pitch, and then you say something graceful, then you say that you're out. So Robert kept saying, "Sorry, I'm out." That's his accent. "Sorry, I'm out." And the producers got on him that, hey, you got to say, "I'm out." And he literally struggled with this episode after episode, and he almost got kicked out because he couldn't stop saying, "Sorry, I'm out," right? So anyway, great guy. Just some quick facts on Shark Tank. I mean, there's 5,000 applicants that apply to get on Shark Tank, and about 200 of them actually go and present. And when they present, you see like the 7 minutes on TV where they're presenting something. It's about 7 minutes. It's actually an hour and a half long session. So I've been there before. It's pretty cool going there. But they actually present for like over an hour, and they go through the whole diligation. And then Hollywood chops it up and puts it into a bite-sized package for you. And what makes it on Shark Tank isn't really the best idea. It's a TV show, right? So it's what is the most entertaining, what is the most interesting, what's going to get the most viewer attention. So it's a fun experience, and it's a little bit about Shark Tank. Now, I'm here today really because I want to talk to you about what I'm most passionate about, which is why people do what they do, right? I'm the why guy. And today, we're going to get into uncertainty, and uncertainty you into fear. And then that leads to, what do I do about it, right? What type of mindset do I need to have in order to face uncertainty, which many of you in the room are facing, on TV are facing across the company. So in order to do that, we'll start off with uncertainty. We'll go into the mindset, and then some practical things that you can walk out of this room with and start using right now. So that's the game plan. So to begin, I'm in the cyberspace. I live in cybersecurity. Any IT people in the room? Anybody from IT side? All right, good. Yes, so our world is very diverse. It changes every day. I was just talking earlier, we were just discussing, it takes every 3 years, the whole industry invents itself. Last week was a busy week for us. in cybersecurity, there was a bunch of attacks. There's the IT folks know there was WannaCry. We always have really cool names for the hacks, right? WannaCry. And yeah, it kind of did make you want to cry because it was pretty bad. All our customers were calling us. We wanted to react. So a lot of uncertainty, a lot of change constantly happening in the cybersecurity space. Same way, cloud computing, right? Staying on the IT theme, in cloud computing, there's a lot of change. So for folks that aren't in IT and are saying, what's the cloud? This is the cloud. No, that's not a rapid. This is the cloud. Now, what happens when one company's cloud connects to another company's cloud? A lot of change, a lot of diversity, right? A lot of things happen, and that's what's going on in the overall IT space when we're looking at cloud computing. Let's shift gears, figuratively, to the automobile space. This is a Ferrari, 17-year-old model, 471 horsepower, 0 to 60 in 3.6 seconds, 400K. Let's fast forward. 2017 Dodge Hellcat, 707 horsepower, right? 2.9 seconds going 0 to 60. And look at that price, 63K. Look at the pace of innovation. Look at the pace of change in the automotive space, right? And for those feeling bad for Ferrari, this is the LaFerrari. It's such an amazing vehicle that its name is right? LaFerrari. And 1,000 horsepower, 2.1 second car, right? 1.8 million, and yeah, it's got to be a hybrid, right? And in fact, this is actually this is Robert's car. And no, I'd never have driven it. I'm actually too scared to drive that car with all the power in that car. So again, the point here is that across the space, not just in the biopharmaceutical space, there's change happening, innovations happening, and what does that mean for you, right? We talked a little bit earlier. Christine brought up around what you guys are doing today with the transformation, with the global project, the 2020 project, right? And how your company is getting into new spaces, getting more focused, more simplified, and changing your operations. That creates a lot of uncertainty, right? Many people in the room may be feeling a little bit stressed, maybe feeling a little bit of anxiety, right? And that is just happening all across the board. So what do we do about that, right? How do we address that? And so wherever there's stress, fear is also lurking nearby, right? And those things tend to take over and gets us in we'll talk more about, a negative state, a negative mental state, which we'll talk more about. But more specifically, I want to give you an antidote right now. This is an intervention by Tony Robbins. He's actually one of my mentors. I've followed him for years. Tony Robbins has a method of what are you focusing on. So as soon as I said those words, transformation and global 2020, just hearing those words to some of the people in the room and on TV may have given you some anxiety, right? Because it made you think, hey, am I going to have to move to Florida? Or am I going to have to take on a new role? Or am I going to have to, what is all this uncertainty? Well, that's actually your number 2 right there. You're focusing on something in the future. You don't know what's going to happen, right? But you should be focusing on right now. Where is your focus? And Tony teaches you that your focus should be on these 3 key things. What you control versus what you don't control. What right now versus what's in the future. And then finally, something you have versus something you don't have. And so what does that mean to you is that if you find yourself in that anxious state, like when I brought up some of those words, you just start to ask yourself, what am I focusing on? Like, am I focused on something tomorrow? Does it really matter? Like, there's a funny proverb that if you want to make God laugh, tell her your plans, right? Because nothing ever turns out the way that you plan it anyway, right? So why are we so worried about what's going to happen tomorrow? Focus on right now. So we'll come back to these three things, but this is a really important point to right away to change your focus on something that's more positive, something that's more now, right? So moving along, so the best way to tell a story is through a movie, right? Anybody seen this movie, About Time? Anybody? All right, okay, so you've seen it. So amazing movie. It illustrates my point around fear, right? So it's a great movie. It's about a father and a son and their relationship. So in the movie, the father and the son have a unique ability. All the men in that family have the ability to travel time. So by traveling time, that means, hey, I had a bad day yesterday. I could go back and change things. So immediately you think, okay, I'm going to go make a lot of money. I'm going to go meet some cool girls. I'm going to do all these interesting things. What the father learned once he had cancer was that what really mattered in his life was his son. So he'd keep going back in time and play ping pong with his son and talk to his son and engage his son, because that's what really, really mattered to him. Towards the end of the movie, I'm sorry if you haven't seen it, I'm going to tell you the punchline. So towards the end of the movie, there's a major lesson that comes up, that the father is about to die. Yeah, he couldn't save himself. Things led to another, and he had to pass away. Before he passed away, he told his son that, I want you to try something. When you go back in time in the future, just first live the day like you normally would, right? You're going to come across fears. You're going to come across some worries. You're going to do things that you don't like. Just go live your day normally. And then do the same day all over again. But this time, do not have the worry. Do not have the fear. And just notice things and be present and just live the day. The son did that, had amazing results. And the most striking thing about this, and the reason why I'm bringing this up to you today, is that the son stopped traveling time. So here's Superman, who has the ability to go back in time. He stopped traveling back in time because he realized that the most important thing is right now. The most important thing is things that I have. The most important thing is things that I can control. So why do I need to go back? I can just do that now. Mind-blowing, right? Great movie. I really recommend you live in it, because what the character in the movie found was his voice. And I'm going to use this concept of your voice, right? So your real voice is not a voice of worry or a voice of concern. Your real voice is where you have strength. So we're going to illustrate that for you a little bit here. So during my intro, you heard that I have 4 kids. And yeah, they're 4 and they're all under 9. And my beautiful wife is here with me today, who makes it all possible. Former BMS employee, by the way, a couple of years at BMS. Is there any other fathers in the room? Fathers in the room, and I'll challenge you. Anybody have more than 4 kids? Crazier than me? Okay. I'll ask this gentleman right here. If I could ask you, could you stand up, please? Yeah. Yeah. So, what's your name? Tony. Hey, nice to meet you, Tony. So, Tony, how many kids do you have?
I have 1 and 1 on the way.
One on the way. What's your first kid's name? Maxwell. Okay. So.
Maxwell.
Great. Thank you for playing along. I'm going to try to illustrate my point to you. So Tony, if there's anything that Maxwell needed, or if Maxwell was in trouble, what would you do for him?
Anything.
Say that one more time.
Anything.
You guys hear that? That's his real voice. There's no worry. There's no fear. He'll do anything for Maxwell. Anything. And he did not hesitate. He just said anything. Thank you. That's the real voice, right? So when you're passionate about something, when you know that you could do anything for your son in this case, your real voice comes up. There's no uncertainty there. There's no fear there. There's no worry there. He'll do whatever it takes for Maxwell. The same way, each of you have a real voice, and you need to find that real voice. And there's a whole process of how to find it, and we don't have time to talk about it today. But the point here is that what you're most passionate about and what really ignites you, right? For everybody's purpose, we all have different purposes. Some of us are pure achievers, right? We want to be the world's greatest accountant, the world's greatest IT professional, the world's greatest fill in the blank. We're achievers. That's what drives us. That's what gets us fueled. When fear shows up, we focus on our achieving. We also have people that want to serve, right? Whether it's serving your country, or whether it's serving your family, or whether it's serving the community. That's what juices them up, right? And knowing what that is very, very important. And we'll get to why in just a few moments. And then finally, love, right? Many of us are geared towards love and loving our family. And in the case with Tony, what he was saying, he'll do anything for his son. It's because that's what he's focused on. That's what drives him. That's what juices him up. No fear is going to interrupt him. Now, to bring this whole fear point home, I need another volunteer. All right, so I need someone strong and agile. Right here. What's your name? I forgot your name. Mehdi, come on up here, Mehdi. You got to come on stage with me. You have the more fun role. All right. So his name isn't Mehdi. His name is actually Fear. Okay, this is Fear. And so, yeah, exactly, perfect. Okay, so when I wake up in the morning, I get up and I say, you know what? I want to do something today. As soon as I decide what it is I'm going to do, fear shows up. And fear comes and says to me that you're not good enough. You're not strong enough. Well, what if you fail? No one's going to like you. Right? Fear's going to whisper a lot of things to me. And so I'm saying, you know what, Fear? I'm going to do this anyway. So grab my arm. So fear's going to stop me. Right? And the more I pull, keep holding, more I pull, Fear is going to
Strong,
grab me.
man.
So if I try to run from fear, it's not going to do anything. In fact, I may actually break my arm. How many people know someone that have hurt themselves because they're so scared, right? So that's not the answer. The real answer with fear is what we talked about with Tony and the real voice, right? Once you know your real voice, the answer is, you got to dance with fear. You want to go over here? Fear comes with you. Or maybe you want to go over here. You want to do this. Fear will come with you over here, right? And maybe fear has an idea. And fear is going to drag you somewhere. Okay, I can go there. Because my real voice is going to show up. Thank you.
Thank you.
My real voice is going to show up. Once I know what my real voice is, and once I know what I'm made for, that's the truth about me. I may not be the most skilled basketball player, but on Sunday, I'll do the best that I can. And I'll have a good state. I'm not going to be negative, right? And that all comes with believing in your real voice. Thanks a lot for that example. So we started off with uncertainty and fear. Now we're going to get into the resilient mindset. So this is I'm going to show you a diagram of all this stuff kind of put into a place, and we will give you some specific examples of this. All right, so to start off, what is destiny? So if I ask folks in the room, most of the time people say two things. Either A, destiny is preordained. It's kind of already planned out. You live through the motions. Great, that's one way of thinking. Another group of people typically say that, oh, destiny is based off of decisions. And I decide, and based on that decision, that something happens. That's fine too. Personally, I believe in both. But the point here is destiny is not very complicated and philosophical. It's really a destination, right? A destination of where you're headed. And now, with your destiny, it's really a set of cause and effects in motion. So I decide that I want to go and work out. As a result of that, there's going to be a set of consequences. Or I decide that I want to go up to the girl and introduce myself. There's some consequences. There's some cause and effect relationship. Now, a bunch of cause and effects in a row, a whole series of cause and effects in a row, gives your life a direction, right? And so what's most important about all of this is that you may have a bunch of cause and effects that are set in motion. There's a lag time, right? So people say, oh, well, I've been dieting for 8 days, and I've been working out for 8 days, but I didn't lose any weight. Well, because you ate like a pig for 30 years, right? So it doesn't happen overnight. It takes time. There's lag time. Lag time is your friend, your tester, to see if you're really committed into whatever it is you're doing. Same way, if you do something really stupid, you go out and do something really stupid one time, it's not going to kill you either, right? Because the lag time will save you in that state. But where I'm going at here, guys, is that it's all about the mental state. Because what's driving all these decisions? It's how you feel, right? It's your state of mind. So if you change your state of mind, and if you're always in a good state of mind, you make better decisions, and those better decisions will give you a better life direction. That's the center of all of this, is having a more positive state. So give you an example of the importance of mental state, which is the peak of all of this, is that it gives you energy, right? People that have a strong mental state have a ton of energy. They're ready to go. You tell them when, they're ready to go because they're committed to what they're doing. And the rest of my talk is going to go through what are some tips to get higher energy, to get into mental state. But before I go there, let me try to convince you that state is really important and that state is very influenceable. So imagine that you're sitting in your family room or in your bedroom and you're watching a really scary movie. So I'm a little old school, so say I'm watching The Nightmare on Elm Street, right, if you still remember that. And I'm sitting and I'm watching it, and I'm like, my blood pressure's going up. I'm like, I'm really tense. I'm watching, I'm fully engaged. And all of a sudden I hear a boom, boom, boom. Coming from the back room, all the way on the other side of the house. Immediate reaction, Freddy's here, right? Or something bad's about to happen to me, right? Why? Because I'm in that state. Same way, I'm sitting in the same place, but this time I'm watching a comedy, right? I'm laughing, I'm spilling stuff on the floor, I'm having a great time. All of a sudden I hear, somebody get the stuff out of the laundry. Is that dog again? Is there somebody walking in? Is my roommate here? You're not thinking it's Freddy Krueger, right? Because it's the state that you're in. It all comes back to the state, right? So mastering your state, you can master anything. It's not saying that you're going to be the Michael Jordan or you're going to be the hero of the world, but you're going to be in control, right? Just like what Tony said, he's going to do anything for his kids. Nothing's going to stop him, right? You're going to be unstoppable at whatever it is you're going to try to do because you're not going to let fear drive you, right? That's the real lesson of trying to keep a peak state. So putting it all together, some millennials in the room, which is kind of cool, and I'm sure there's plenty on the webcast as well. So let's make it really straightforward. If you're in a bad state, or even in a worse state, the decisions you're going to make are going to lead you to some events that aren't so great. If you're in a positive state, right, and the decisions you make are going to lead you to a better direction. Is it when you meet someone or when you make a decision, do you stop and think about all the consequences that are going to happen based on what I'm going to eat for lunch today? Typically, no, you don't eat that, right? But if you remind yourself of the consequences overall of the direction of your day and impact the way you think about your day, you're going to change the direction of your life. You could change your whole life. And this is all another Tony Robbins concept, but it can really transform everything that you do from your day to day. So going back to what we talked about initially, what's going on here at BMS and the changes that are happening, the transformation that's happening, this is great, right? Look at the opportunity that you could possibly have here. If you're focused on right now, what you're doing right now, and a couple weeks, months ahead of what you want to do, and align yourself with the right people and build your right skills, this is such a great opportunity for you, right? It depends on what type of state you're in. So now I said a lot, right? So I spoke to you about the urgency that fear creates in your life and trying to get rid of that. And I gave you the great example of how you got to let fear come with you wherever you go, because it's always going to be there. Don't try to fight fear. Face fear and just learn how to live with it in a good state. And so now, tell me more about the state stuff, right? How do I get to peak state? What are some things that I could do walking out this door today to get into peak state? But before I do that, let me stop. I didn't stop for questions. Going through the concepts that I went through so far, any questions so far? Make sense? Or it sounds like you probably all want to know, how do I get into peak state, right? So far, so good? All right. I always do that. I just go too fast. Slow down and ask some more questions. Okay. All right. So let's get more practical and tactical. Okay. So I'm going to tell you a little about how to use your body, physiology, things that you could do with your body to change your state. Subconscious, right? So this is somewhat of a fancy word, but it's actually very straightforward. I'll walk you through subconscious. Words, right? So you don't realize this, but the words you choose change the way you feel, right? We'll go through some examples of that. And then finally, my favorite is gratitude, being thankful, because, forget everything else. Everybody in this room is blessed. I mean, what an amazing facility this is that you have the opportunity to work in, an amazing company, right? And you guys have achieved so much already to be in this position, to have the jobs that you all respectively have in this company. So much to be thankful for. But we'll go through some tips about how we can use gratitude to change our state. So let's start with physiology, peak state, getting physiology. So what I like to go to first is stand up more, right? So the new thing is sitting is the new smoking, right? Study after study, and you guys are in the pharma world, will tell you that sitting is not really good for you. So why is it that we sit all the time generally across the world, across every industry? Because we grew up in an industrial age, right? In the industrial age, you had to go to your seat on the assembly line, sit down, do your piece of the cog, and then move along. So guess what happened? The education system adopted that. And the education system put you in a desk, right? You weren't up or rocking around the room. You weren't talking to anybody. You were working independently, right? That's how it all started. And so then we kind of took that into our industries, into our manufacturing, and into the rest of our industries. It's not good for your body, right? You need to get up more. You need to move more. When you move, you set your energy in motion, right? And there's study after study after study will tell you that the more you stand, the more you move, the more your blood flows, more oxygen to your brain, right? So you need some oxygen to your brain to get into a better state, right? So that's one thing. Stand no more. This is my favorite one. So, and you guys are in this field. So 95% of all Americans today have some symptom of dehydration. We don't drink enough water, right? We're supposed to drink half the amount of weight in water. So in my case, about 90 ounces is about 6 bottles of water a day. I actually do. But a lot of people just don't. I used to not do it until I learned more about this. But if you drink more water, the number one, the symptoms of dehydration, a lot of people have headaches all the time. They're irritable, right? There's other symptoms that you're just living with today and putting yourself in a bad state just by your physiology. Just drink some water, right? And then on top of that, we add on other things like soft drinks and coffees, and that just makes it worse, right? Your dehydration problem just gets more. What do? We get a 5-iron energy, or we get some other, something else to try to fix a simple problem, right? Just drink some water, right? So that's the next one. Breathe with your diaphragm, right? So this is a little technical. All right, so a lot of us, anybody in the room, you guys, I know somebody in the room knows this answer to this question. Anybody know why someone yawns? Somebody knows the answer here. Nobody knows? Why people yawn? Yes. Yes, perfect. Well, I knew you guys would get this, right? So, and reason why is like, you look really cool right now, sitting like lean back, relaxed, like that's cool, but you're not breathing properly, right? So what happens is that, what happens is that your lungs, and I'm not a doctor and not even close to being a doctor, but I know enough about this topic that your lungs aren't breathing all the way. So when you yawn, basically your body's saying, dummy, start breathing, right? Because your body, you're just using only part of your lungs. And so what does that mean? Not enough oxygen in your brain, so that means you're not as active as you could be. You're not at peak state. You're not making the most out of what your body has to offer, right? And I did this, I sit the same way. I was just picking on you. But the idea, though, is that, every now and then stand up, right? If you have one of those stand-up desks, great. Use one of those and walk around and then breathe out your diaphragm. So an easy way to describe it is imagine, this is my stick figure decision guy. Imagine you have a triangle between your belly button to your pelvic, and there's a balloon in there. So when you breathe in, you're filling up the balloon, and you're breathing out, you're letting the balloon go. That's diaphragmatic breathing, and that's going to maximize your oxygen intake. It's going to make you put you in a better state just by your own physiology alone. You don't have to think about anything yet. You just got to use your body differently, and it'll help you with your state. This one I love, right? So smiling. Did you know that your face has 80 different muscles in it? 80 different muscles in your face. And we all know that smiling is, good socially and all that kind of stuff. But it's actually good for you physiology-wise too, right? It's flexing muscles in your face, right? And then, of course, it makes the other people around you, smiling is contagious. But also cheering for other people. For some reason, particularly in America, I don't know if this is the case across the globe as well, we are in this idea that there is a scarcity principle in society. What I mean by that is that the resources in the world, philosophically speaking now, the resources in the world are limited. And so if Joe picks something up, that means I can't get it, right? That's the wrong thinking. In fact, it's an abundance principle. Abundance principle is that there's plenty for everyone. You just got to find it and grab it, right? So if you forget your family or friend, but even strangers, anybody around you, something good happens to them, celebrate it, right? So psychologically speaking, you're celebrating abundance, but also on top of it, you're using your body. You're cheering. You're raising your voice, right? All these things are going to help you change your state and to put you into a positive state, right? And guess what's going to happen? You're going to become known as that person, which I'm sure every single person in this room has somebody in their life or multiple people in their life that when you just hanging out with them is fun because they're just always in a great state, right? And if you hang out with them long enough, you're in a great state. You can't help it because it's contagious. You want to be one of those people too, right? So cheer for people, smile more. And then, I'm not going to get in there. You got to exercise and you got to eat right. You heard that 1,000 times. I'll let your wife and your mothers and other people tell you that. All right. So train your subconscious. So what I'm saying here is subconscious sounds pretty fancy, but everybody in this room probably drove to work today. Is there anybody that did not drive to work today? Yeah. Every single person in the room drove. So we all drive, and some of us text while we drive, or we have a longer drive. And in the longer drive, we start to doze off a little bit. Right? And I hate when that happens to me, and that's pretty scary. But it happens out there. And then all of a sudden, something pops up in front of you. Boom! You slam the brake. You didn't slam the brake. Your subconscious slammed the brake. The subconscious is always on, right? It's always working for you. But we don't do enough to train our subconscious. So, for example, I have my note card, which has my goals, right? And many of you have goals, but I carry around my goals with me. I review my goals every day. Not because I don't know what my goals are. I know what my goals are. I'm training my subconscious, right? So one of my goals is I have to be at a certain weight and I have to exercise this many days in a week. I see that every day. My subconscious sees that every day. So if I see an opportunity where I'm in between a call or after a flight or what have you, my subconscious knocks on the door and says, hey, go to the gym, right? Because I'm training my subconscious. And we do it indirectly, right? And it's very, very powerful. And so as far as training your subconscious goes, wrong button. A few examples I have here. Number one, make your bed, right? So why I say make your bed is that it's a very simple task, right? Everyone can do it. Everyone has it. It's probably the first thing you could do every day. If you can't do the simple task, how are you going to do all those hard tasks? And after you do it, what's going to happen? Uncle Mo will show up. Uncle Momentum. Momentum, one task completed, starts another task completed. And all else fails, even if you have a crappy day, nothing I say works, and you have a crappy day, at least you come home to a made bed, right? So make your bed. Next, all right, outcome-based thinking. So what I mean by outcome-based thinking is when you get involved into anything, think about what is your outcome. Stephen Covey says, think with the end in near. Think with the end in mind, right? So 2 examples. One, mentoring, right? This is what one of the objectives of this whole group is for mentoring. If you're an analyst level and you're trying to get to the manager level, if you're a manager level trying to get to VP level, you're trying to get to the next level, you need a model. You need an outcome. You need someone that you could model yourself off of. Your brain and your body, your physiology, your psychology needs something to chase after, right? And when you see it and you visualize it and you can interact with that person, that'll help you to get to where you need to go. A more fun example is for me, I play Sunday basketball every Sunday, and I have to constantly remind myself, my outcome is a good workout and hang out with my friends. My outcome is not trying to block that kid half my age who's trying to dunk on me or trying to chase down somebody else, which I could very easily get into a bad state, start getting mad at myself, or why can't I make that shot, or start blaming somebody else. I could really get quickly, very, very quickly, I can get into a bad state. But if I keep my eye on the outcome, good workout, have fun with my friends. Keep my mind on those outcomes. It'll totally change my experience, right? So that's the principle behind outcome thinking. All right, you're wondering what the heck is a sugar cookie, right? So this is actually one of my favorite examples. Now, the sugar cookie example comes from the great commander, William McRaven. And I strongly recommend everyone check out this YouTube video. It's a commencement speech that he gave. 4.5 million people aren't wrong, right? So it's a very sought out video. So what he talks about in this is he's a Navy SEAL, right? If you don't know what Navy SEALs are, these are really badass people, right? They go through the craziest training on the planet in order to become a Navy. You don't just become a Navy SEAL. You have to go through some serious training. And a part of that serious training is the ability to get your uniform on properly. So, we just get dressed, we put on whatever's in the closet. Not these guys, right? They have to starch their hat, right? They have to press all their clothes perfectly. The belt buckle has to be shiny, right? All this meticulously planned to put your appearance together to serve your team as a Navy SEAL. So, on a weekly basis, there's these random uniform inspections. So the uniform inspections, somebody comes around, looks at you up and down, says, that's off. And the punishment for being off is you have to run out into the wake of the ocean, jump in, swim in, come back out, fully soaked, then roll around in the sand until you're full of sand, which is the sugar cookie. And then from there, you have to do the rest of your day with the team just like that. Cold, sandy, full of water, right? A lot of people don't survive that. A lot of people can't take being a sugar cookie. And those people say that it's not fair. I put all this work in here. Don't they know all the effort I put into this? How could they do that to me? They don't understand the purpose of the drill, right? You're trying to be a Navy SEAL. To be a Navy SEAL, it's okay to be a sugar cookie, right? So a lot of people don't get that. But if you train your mind, train your subconscious, that these things that come up, people criticizing you, people saying these things, what's constructive about it? What could I do about it? What the Admiral's saying here is move forward, right? Whatever your state, however you're dressed that day, just keep walking and go along with the rest of the day. Keep trucking forward. All right, so we've gone through physiology. We've gone through how we should be training your subconscious through goals and through mindset. Now words. So words is really groundbreaking for me, right? So did you guys know that there's 750,000 words in the English language, and there's others on the phone from all over the world, and there's probably, I think there's one other language, I believe it's Chinese, that has more words than the American language, English language. But it's a pretty complicated language. Now, of the 750,000 words, only 4,000 of them, 0.5%, have something that describe your emotions, their emotional words. 4,000 out of 750,000. So then we wonder why we have so many communication problems. Because it's very difficult in the English language, and I would say that it's probably the same ratio across all languages, to describe our emotions, right? And what makes it worse, and this is where I would say that we're maybe set up for failure, what makes it worse is that 3,600 of them are negative. So we have 3,600 ways to say something stinks, right? We only have 400 ways to say something is good. So guess what our day is going to be like if we don't pay attention to this? We're going to say a lot of negative things, right? That's just how we're wired. That's how we're programmed. But you know what? It doesn't have to be that way, right? If you recognize this and if you be more aware of this, it doesn't have to be that way. So I made a statement that said that words can change how you feel. So let me try to prove that to you. So if I came to you and said that, hey, I know a girl. I want to introduce you to this girl. She's really nice. Or I came to you and said, hey, I'm going to introduce you to this girl. She is stunning. Right there, your mindset changed just by that one word, stunning versus beautiful. If I said to you, okay, we're going to take a break. You're going to walk out of the room. On the way out, why don't you pick up some of my delicious snacks? Or if I said to you, on your way out, pick up one of my nutritious snacks. Each word had a different reaction to you. So words matter, right? In the same tone, if I said to you that you came to me and said, hey, Tiff, all this stuff you're saying is just, you're just wrong about it. Versus you say, you know what, Tiff, you're mistaken. Totally different reaction, right? So the words we use can control how we feel and how we make others feel, right? And so to take that a step further, looking at how words can transform you. It's called transformational vocabulary. The 10-day challenge is to go to one of your friends, somebody, a family member, somebody that knows you well, somebody that talks to you all the time. Ask them, just be aware of what are some words that I use all the time, right? And the fun ones are when you're really upset. Like, I'm enraged. I'm so pissed, right? I'm so angry. I can't believe it, right? Those emotional words. What if you substitute enraged with, I'm annoyed? And if you dare enough, you could say, I'm peeved, right? You might actually laugh in a time of enraged. Like, instead of being enraged, your body says, okay, I got to be enraged now. It's going to become enraged. But if you said, I'm annoyed or I'm peeved, it just takes the intensity out of the whole thing. And so if you're in a decent state, something happens and you start going to a really negative state, the words you choose can help you get back out, right? So that's the 10-day challenge, is to try to think of something in your everyday vocabulary that you do that you could potentially change or tweak to give you a better mental state. Because again, this is all about getting to peak state. Gratitude. All right. So I mentioned this was my favorite one. So it's my favorite one because I could safely tell you that it is a silver bullet to get peak state through gratitude. It's biochemically impossible for you to be thankful about something and be upset, and to be mad, and to be angry. It's just, you can't, your body doesn't work that way. It's a silver bullet. The hard part is just reminding yourself to what you're thankful for. Earlier during the talk here, I mentioned that you guys are in this room, you have just by being thankful for something, it changes everything. And there's no coincidence that every major religion in the world, or any type of spiritual deity, has gratitude as a central principle of the religion. Right? Because it actually does this to your body. It's a fact. It's a proven fact. So how do you do this? You could pray, you could meditate, and if you're more sophisticated, you could prime. Right? So what is priming? Priming is an amazing activity. Again, another Tony Robbins thing. What priming does, it's 10 minutes, and you go through various phases, and I could follow up with you guys offline on how to do it. But you go through various phases where you first start off by just feeling the energy around you. Air, the universe, the things around you. But no phone, no interruptions. You're just living. You're breathing, right? And then you get into a state where you start to thank things that you have and things moments in your life that you're very gracious of and you're very thankful for. And then you finally move to the last stage of priming, is where you go into your goals. And it's not the goals as they are, that I want to be the vice president, or I want to have my third kid, or whatever it is. It's actually, you're there. You already got it. And what are you going to feel like? What are you going to think about when you actually got it? Remember the whole train your subconscious thing? You got to train your subconscious so that you know what success looks like. What is the end game? So priming puts all that together, and you walk out of it with ready to just take on the world, right? And it also helps you with the whole challenge of the fear and eliminating that fear and letting the words of worry drive everything that you do. So that's gratitude. So in conclusion, let me wrap up, and maybe we can have some questions, if anybody dares. I told you this is a sensitive topic, right? It's about how you feel, it's about your emotions, and it's a privilege really to have the opportunity to talk to you about this. So what I want to conclude with is, if you forgot everything I said, if there's one thing that you got out of this talk, it's this: focus on the right things. I gave you this dichotomy before of the 3 different areas. Next time you're stressed, next time you're worried about something, remember these 3 things. I bet you, I guarantee you, that you are doing one of the things that you shouldn't be doing here, right? You got to focus on right now. You got to focus on things that you're in control of, and then focus on things that you do have, right? Your brain's going to say, no, but she did that to me, and it was so unfair. And no, focus on what is now, right? And I guarantee you that if you could follow these steps and just put your mind back to what's important right now, it'll change your state, and you'll get out of it. You'll bounce back, right? Find your voice every day, and above all, right, of all the things we talked about, live in peak state. Get into a good state so you make good decisions, and good decisions will lead to a cause and effect relationship to a great destination. That's all I have for you guys today. Thank you so much. Yeah. A good time.
Thank you, Atif. I think that was very helpful and really gave us good ideas for how to move forward with the peak state and good mindset. So based on your experience in knowing Robert Herjavec, so do you think that his goals have changed over time? And how often should we be reevaluating besides just driving toward?
Great question. Thank you. What's your name?
Julia.
Julia had a great question. And so Robert is an amazing person, right? He's an amazing human being. You guys know his story. Son of a factory immigrant worker, right? He's self-made. Nothing to something, right? Self-made, and he's down to earth. And about goals, he is meticulous about his goals, right? There's a reason why I have my goals on a note card in my pocket, right? There's people that influence that. And so what Robert always says is that you have your mindset into today of what you got to execute right now, especially like to perform at the level that he performs. But more importantly, you got to know where you want to go in 2 years, 2 to 3 years. Look at your life as 2 to 3 years of tour of duties, right? You're not going to be doing whatever you're doing right now. You're not going to be doing it forever. Whether you want to or not, it's going to change. And so if you see it as tour of duties, then you ask yourself at the end of the tour of duty, whether it's you did it or somebody else did it to you, it doesn't matter. It's still a tour of duty. You ask, so what did I learn here, and what could I use? How could I use this for the next tour of duty? Hope that answers your question.
It really does. Thank you.
Right. And while you guys think of other questions, I could tell you how I met Robert. I'm sure you guys want to know. I get that question all the time. Amazing guy. I used to work at Comcast, right? And I was at Comcast for several years before I came to Herjavec Group. I've been at Herjavec Group for 3 years. At Comcast, I did some security stuff there, and I worked with a company called Splunk. Some of the IT folks may have heard of Splunk. Great software platform. I did a lot with Splunk. So the Splunk rep calls me one day, and he's like, hey, the guy from Facebook canceled, and we need somebody to speak at Robert Herjavec's private, actually, I think I have a slide for this. Oh, yeah, I do. Speak at Robert Herjavec's private country club and talk about what you do with Splunk. And I'm like, who's Robert Herjavec? And he's like, oh, he's the guy from Shark Tank. I'm like, oh, Shark Tank. Which one is he? And then he's like, oh, so I get to speak at his event? And do I meet him? And they're like, yeah, absolutely. It's his event. And so I said, well, at the time, I said, let me get back to you. I got to ask my boss. At the time, my boss never let me get on stage, right? I mean, I'm here today and whatever, but he never let me get on stage. He never wanted me to talk about Comcast and how Comcast is doing for security. And so I was like, oh, man, he's not going to let me do this. So I go to my boss. I pitched to him the Shark Tank thing. And I said, look, just this one time, let me go to this event, right? And he said, fine, just this one time. So I go to the event, and some of the things that we talked about today, I was very focused. I rehearsed, and I wanted to make an impression on him. And I did. And then one thing led to another, and I'm here. Yeah.
Hey, Atif. So you mentioned a few motivational speakers, I think you call them, or gurus, or Tony Robbins.
Oh, right.
are there any ones that you specifically follow, and you know, what are your favorite qualities, I guess, from those kind of people? Like how do they affect what you do?
Great question. Great question. Thank you for that question. Thanks for helping me with my example too.
Yeah.
Really appreciate that. So the question was, what are some of the influences? And so what I recommend is stop listening to music, right? I mean, you can listen to music, it's great and all that, but in your car, podcast, make your brain smarter, right? And do podcasts of things you would never even think about doing regularly, because you'll learn, right? And it'll open and expand your mind. So I got into that. I thought podcast, Tony Robbins is my guru, right? He's my a lot of the stuff is all Tony Robbins. Like, I don't want to take credit for a lot of the stuff is Tony Robbins. Tim Ferriss, another great person. He has a great podcast as well. Stephen Covey, a little bit old school, but 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, very bestseller author. He's been a big influence for me as well, and people that I know. Robert Herjavec, he actually has 3 books, and they're all fantastic as well. And I wish I should have brought some with me to give you guys. He's also a great motivation as well. But the message there is podcast, right? You'll learn something. Yeah. Follow-up question?
I feel like the new guy on the block is Gary Vaynerchuk.
Oh yeah, Gary V.
And he's all over Facebook and LinkedIn, and but his main thing is you can listen to all these motivational speaking, but it's about doing. And not, like you can get all this high from listening and all that, but at the end of the day, it's about doing. And I feel like for me, that speaks a lot for me and something that I like to incorporate in my life. So I'm just curious who you listen to. And yeah, Tim Ferriss at the 4-Hour Work Week. And those are all pretty awesome people. So,
yeah, but, great points. And I don't want you to overcomplicate it. Even Gary V, he said doing, but it all starts with your state. If you're in a good state, I guarantee you your life direction is going to get better. Right? And if it's already good, it's going to get even better than it is right now, just by getting in the right state, right? And so then you'll do and it'll just happen. Thanks for the question.
I actually have a question. Great job. Thank you very much. So when you're going through some of these times at work, like let's say you're having, huge issues with cybersecurity and whatnot, and it's hitting you and, you're just about to get home. Is there a certain thing that you do, like a best practice, to not bring that home to your family and to your children? Because a lot of us have to immediately switch, and we might not be able to just turn off those feelings of uncertainty or whatnot and have time to get into that peak state. Is there something that you do that can really help you get there quickly to deal with your children?
Great question. And I laugh because immediately, cybersecurity got nothing on my 4 kids. Right? They got nothing on my 4 kids. And in fact, to directly answer your question, this right here, right? Focus. Where's my focus? Where focus goes, energy flows, right? Focus is everything. And so, yeah, you're switching gears when you pivot from one to another, and you're feeling a little bit, I'm still stop, right? I'm focusing on yesterday, or I'm focusing on an hour ago. I got my by the way, the girl that was in the picture earlier, that's my daughter. I got my 8-year-old in front of me right now, right? But it takes discipline. If you don't remind yourself and tell yourself that, you're just going to play with her and you're going to be thinking about something else. And then a few days later, like the guy in the movie that I told you about, he's going to have cancer. He's about to die. He goes back, and what does he do? He doesn't try to get all the money in the world. He tries to spend time with his kid, right? Because that's what he's passionate about. So that's easy. You just got to change, easy concept, change your focus. But I've been doing it for years, right? I've been practicing this for years, so it's easy for me. And it could be easy for you too. You just got to be aware of it. Awareness is the first step.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, everyone.